Hey, how you doing, everybody? As always, this is JD Lewis with Untamed Conversations. Today I have a special guest. It's actually a very good friend of mine, also my cousin. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hey, how are you? I'm JD's cousin. My name is Patrick Lewis. We're cousins on my father's side.
All right, awesome, man. And so today we're actually going to get into pretty much a lot about what Pat does for work, how he started, where he is now, and we're going to pretty much do that. So first, let's start off. Pat, what do you do for work?
Yeah, so I own an electrical company, a solar company, and a leasing company. We're based out of West Haven, Connecticut. We were in Milford for the better part of 20 years, and I'm a third-generation electrician.
Third generation. So yeah, and obviously for people out there that may not know what that means, it was our grandfather, it was his father, and now it's him. His father had a business partner as well. So now it's actually, he owns the company by himself now. And Pat, let me ask you, it's a very good trade to jump into. What got you into it? Obviously you just said third generation, but
yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean, you look at me, third generation with you, I didn't want to do that.
No, it's by all means definitely not how I got into it, by being part of the family. I think trades are a great thing to get into if you're good with your hands and maybe not so good with the books or don't want to go off to school and take on that debt. I think trades are a big thing to get into. I sit on the apprenticeship board for the local unions for the state of Connecticut. So I see kids all the time that go into non-union trade schools, pay $35,000, $40,000 a year, come out, have no job, nobody helping them get a job, items like that. So it's definitely beneficial to do those things. And certainly reach out to me if you're interested in that, and I can point you in the right direction. I do that for a lot of kids. But what got me into it was really my father. Even though it's a family business, I grew up doing side work with him and helping him out, and he opened up the business in 1997. Started growing it. Was a union electrical contractor, got into communications a lot, DSL lines, cell phone towers, all sorts of specialty stuff, which really made me take an interest in specialty versions of it. I actually started going to college to become a policeman or a fireman, and my father forced me to get into the electrical industry and said, now you got something to do on the side on your days off, and I got in and never left.
And that seems to happen with a lot of people. And for everybody listening, I did at one point work for my uncle. Then I transitioned to work for my cousin. No hard feelings. We are just we're brothers. He's one of my best friends. So I was also immature at the time. I was, I think, 17 or 18. He gave me a pretty good job in the warehouse, kind of running the warehouse, and
it's entry level. Right?
And you know what you do at 17, though.
Nobody thought you'd do that for the rest of your life.
No. But, and you said you're in West Haven now. You guys did start in Milford.
We started in Milford. I was, born and raised in Milford. Milford's, close and dear to my heart. We do a lot of the work for the Board of Education. We put solar on every school in Milford. And it means a lot for me to be there and be part of the community, but we needed to, purchase a bigger building and grow. And unfortunately, real estate in Milford was a little tough in the commercial industry.
Yeah, I hear that with a lot of people. A lot of people I talk to in Milford, anybody looking for a building or a big commercial property, the prices are outrageous.
Yeah, they're rough for sure.
But let me ask you, to where you are now, to, like you said, when you started,
yeah.
Let's talk about how you got there. Just for example, I know for a fact from all the times that we've gotten together, when I was 18 and you're a couple years older than me, the work you did at a young age, everybody was out partying, you were...
Yeah, I'm a worker. That's where I come from. That's what I was born and bred to do, and that's what I enjoy. I love being an entrepreneur. That's why I keep opening up new companies and going that route. So I was able to have an opportunity to purchase the company from my father back in 2007, of course, right before the recession, which nobody saw coming. But, my father, grew up doing, retrofit light bulbs and cell phone towers and specialty stuff and service-oriented work. And, we were out doing that service work and doing low voltage work, and I used to always watch the big electrical companies on those jobs do the work and how they did it, and, really enjoyed seeing that. So I always wanted to get into projects more, new construction, ground up. So, when I purchased the company from my father and my business partner, Ray Carroll, we went straight after projects. We went after smaller projects, retails. We did a lot of mall work, bank work, smaller projects, and kind of grew from there and started going after larger construction projects. So, over the 15, 20 years that I've been doing it now, we've probably grown substantially in size. I mean, from 10 guys when I purchased it from my father to well over 100 guys now. So we've significantly grown. We've gotten very large into the solar industry, commercial solar, and that's really near and dear to my heart as well. You know, I firmly believe in the solar industry and what it's doing, and I see the positive change on it. I see positive change for business owners and commercial real estate people, and you know, it's definitely a love of mine.
No, that's awesome. I mean, because you see a lot of, I like to see that, people who kind of started from the bottom to where they are now. What would you say one of your biggest hurdles was in the last, let's say from buying the company to now? What was something that you had to overcome to where you, I'm not saying obviously you weren't in the way of losing the company, but a way of, you're like, okay, shit, this is going to be hard.
Yeah, I think with every company in growth, you know, there's no book to play by, right? There's no rules to play by. Nobody's given any examples. There's no real education on, hey, how do you grow an electrical company? It's really all grassroots and figuring it out. I mean, I took it over and purchased it right before the recession. So my first hurdle was that first year, right? I thought I was growing a company, and then all of a sudden the industry crashed completely, and we had to diversify and figure out how are we going to survive this. And we survived it and figured out, all right, we're better people for it, we're going to grow now. So then from there, growth hurdles happen, right? When you get to 20 guys and 30 guys, that's totally different than 10 guys, right? How do you keep 30 guys moving? How do you have foremen to run those projects? How do you have estimators now to continue that growth? So now, you know, now we go to 50 guys, and now I need project managers, and now I need additional warehouse staff, and I need more office staff, and sub-foremen, and more service techs and vans, and you know, now you get up to 100 guys, and it's just multiples of that. So it's, you know, every month is a hurdle. Every month is something new. Some left curve, you know, gets thrown at me, and you gotta bend with the rules, and you gotta figure it out. But it's one of the things that I've always believed in, that I'd love to, you know, write a book and how I got there, and the lessons that I learned to help out small other contractors.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be awesome with all the experience you have and everything you've gone through. Now, obviously, you said you believe in solar very much. You stand behind it. Not throwing shade at anybody else, but I know there's also companies out there that I guess you could say are more of, hey, I just want to put the solar on, you know, I want to get paid, you know, this and that, whatever. There's a lot of different companies like that. What would you say makes you stand out and kind of puts you apart from the rest?
Sure. So I think the number one thing that makes me stand out is that I'm a master electrician first and foremost before I ever got into the solar industry, so I understand how electricity works. And then we also got into the expertise of solar and the best generation and the best path forward versus these guys that are knocking door to door trying to make a sale and fill your roof with solar, and maybe it's not facing true south, and maybe they're shading from trees that's not beneficial to the homeowner. There's a lot of technical things that are not beneficial to the person that's receiving solar, that you're maybe not getting the best avenue. But in the end, I think that my best path forward is the fact that when these incentives run out, when these tax breaks run out, and all these solar companies flee from the state to move to the next state on where these incentives are, we're going to be left here to maintain and make sure that these customers have operating solar arrays, right? We're still here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's anybody who's listening, obviously you can tell from what he's saying, you know, he's here to stay. He's not going anywhere. Pat, what would you say, do you think you'd be in the same situation if you stuck with just the electrical and not solar? I mean, because you're very, very successful on both sides.
No, I definitely wouldn't be. I mean, you have to diversify in this industry. I mean, I think as an electrical contractor, you got to figure out who you are, and you got to pick your specialty. So, I mean, you got to try a little bit of everything out, and you got to figure out what's profitable for you, what do you enjoy doing, and what can you do better than the next guy, and you need to stick with that. I mean, guys just going after every open construction project, they're going to lose on projects more than they're going to make. So specialty is the way to go these days from being a generic electrical contractor. You got to get into, you know, generators or solar or temperature controls or voice data video, and you got to find your niche and stick with that. That's what makes you successful. And everybody out there, because I know I have a lot of people that listen that, you know, work for companies like that, and some that try to start their own companies. Different question for you, kind of still about electrical. Let's say the smaller business that's listening, that one-man shop. Yeah.
You know, that, and I know you've done that at one point. You know, is that something where, you know, still diversify, or if you're doing just one or two men, you know, a three-man shop, just doing small things?
Well, I think you still need to have your niche. I mean,
okay.
If you're a one-man show and you're out there doing service calls, then that's your bread and butter. Stick with your service calls, build your clientele, right? try to find some good customers that have multiple buildings or multiple interests that can keep you going year after year, and don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Make sure that you have that, diversity where you have 6, 7, 8 clients. You're not, relying on one property manager. That's your entire boat. That's not going to work, because if he disappears, then you disappear.
That's very, very valuable information, everybody. Obviously, if you have a business, you're a small company, something like that. As he said, try to diversify, get yourself some more business, jump into other things. So here's a big one, Pat. Let me ask you, what would you say your goal for the next 8 to 10 years is with this company?
Yeah, so this company's been through a lot of transitions over the last 15 years in growth, right? We've finally grown to a substantial size to where, I'm running the business versus out in the field running around. Last year I lost my business partner, Ray Carroll, so that was a huge transition for me as well. So at this point I'm looking for stabilization. I'm looking to continue where I'm at, having the same revenue year after year, keeping the same margins year after year, and maintaining the right clientele, and finding some loyalty, right? I want to stay in that niche that I'm in, find people that are loyal to me, that are going to come to me year after year, and just have honest conversations, and believe in the product that we're providing, right? So over 10 years I want to continue that same path forward and continue to run the business and have steady clientele. That's what I'm looking for.
Awesome. It definitely sounds like you're here to stay. I'm sure that you'd like to have some people with you as well that can kind of help run the company, so you can kind of, I don't want to say stand in the back, but let them do what they have to do so you can oversee the...
Yeah, I think that's always the goal, right? Always the goal is you don't want to be there, day in, day out, 7 days a week, 24/7 for the rest of your life, right? So absolutely, I'm definitely have people in mind that I'm grooming, and I see the next generation coming up, not necessarily, my children's next generation, but like apprentices that I got into the apprenticeship, right? I interviewed them on the JATC board that I sit in, and I've seen them go through their time and get their electrical license now, and I see their value. And we're starting to educate them to become future project managers and future estimators, and building up within. So that's a huge transition to see over 15 years, is working for people that are much, much older than you, and now seeing younger people come in and build themselves through and see the potential that they're going to bring to this company. So I think it's great. So yeah, I'd love to start transitioning myself out over the next 10 to 15 years to where I get to step back a little bit. Yeah.
It's that's nice to hear, but it's also funny you said younger people. It makes us feel really old.
It does make me feel old now. Yeah, it does. Revisiting jobs that I've done when I first got in business that are renovating again, or revamping again, or go out to a job that's got my company's logo on it that we did 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Yeah, or even people that I worked with that are filing for retirement now. Yeah, definitely makes me feel old.
A lot of valuable information, and this is something that I think, people that are listening are really going to appreciate. Where do you see the company going with the current state of the economy? Because I know that I've seen other companies that have really had some hard times with the economy right now, and I see other companies that flourish. What do you think is the biggest thing you can continue doing to make sure that you're always successful with the state of the economy right now?
Yeah, I think it's a twofold, right? Because I own two different businesses, two major businesses. One's electrical, one's solar. So they are entirely different as far as the economy goes. So in the electrical industry, obviously interest rates being higher are a concern. Election year is always a concern with corporate America spending money and looking at their budgets. So I think that there's going to be a halt towards Q3, Q4. There was a light recession that everybody's been mentioning for the last 2 years that was going to come forward, and it just keeps getting pushed out, and everybody says it's coming, and I really hope it never comes, but I don't think it's come yet. So I think that the housing market is booming, right? The apartment market is booming, so you have a lot of work out there doing that stuff. There's a lot of state subsidies, federal subsidies for schoolwork happening. So you could see the schools, in Bridgeport getting built, and all throughout Manchester and London, and all those big schools are getting built. So that's putting a lot of people to work, and that's been great for the economy. I think it's the smaller commercial stuff that's going to be tough going forward. I think the apartment building may slow down with the interest rates and the cost of building materials, and I'm certainly concerned about that. But again, that's why we stay in the niche, and I think that'll continue. So I think the electrical industry is going to slow down a little bit.
Okay.
I really do. I hope that it doesn't. But I think that if you're diversified and you see the apartment housing market, the multifamily housing market slowing down a little bit, and you get into commercial buildings, or you entertain schools, or you look after, Biden's act that he did with all the bridges and the highways and, all that money that he's put into that stuff, and you get into some of that work, the EV charging, things like that. I mean, you'll stay diversified, and you'll stay busy, and you'll keep your core guys busy, and that's what's important. As far as the solar industry, it's a totally different industry. It's subsidy-based by the government and by the utilities. And, the utilities are going through a process right now of changing their subsidies and going through that. The tax breaks are still there, so it's a great environment for commercial and residential. And I think that's gonna stay strong for at least another 5, 6, 7 years from what I see. The work is out there. It's, materials at a good price right now. It's definitely the time to start running towards that. And, if you don't have it, getting it done. So I see those guys staying busy. I think from there you've got maintenance, you've got contracts that'll stay on board. So I think a solid decade for solar, looking at it today.
That's another thing good to hear. I had a question about solar because, I read things, I see things. A lot of people that want solar. I know you do commercial, correct?
We do mainly commercial, but we know how to do residential.
Okay. My question to you is, you get a lot of people that want solar, they have salesmen come to their house, they're confused about it, they can't explain it.
Yeah.
What would be your easiest way to explain solar? So somebody, let's just say hypothetically, I want solar.
Yeah.
Salesman comes to my house, I'm like, yeah, okay, it sounds great, blah, blah, blah. Which I'm sure it's happened before, it happens a lot. What is your way to explain to somebody just, hey, this is actually a good thing for you?
Well, I think solar under the right industry and the right situation is a good thing for everybody. You have multiple options that you could purchase solar on. You could finance it. You could get a lease agreement going, or you could buy it outright,
okay.
Which is obviously your biggest benefit if you have that kind of cash. So you need to watch how they're pushing it. You need to watch the agreements that they're pushing it towards, and you need to watch for any inflators in your rate. So if you're going to go with a lease rate and they're going to offer you a KWH rate, you need to watch the inflators in that rate, right?
Okay.
Eventually it may turn out to be higher than what the utility goes, and right now the utility is killing us. They're jacking up the rates year after year, but it'll get there. It's a positive thing, and just be careful and do your research on the company that's knocking door to door. Right?
Got it.
Call some references. Get a reputation. Call a local supply house or something that sells all the goods. They'll tell you whether the company's a good company or not.
Cool. And again, anybody out there that's listening to this, like he just said, look for references, ask the right people. So kind of coming to a close here. I know we got into it a little bit. With you, let's say the next 10, 15 years, obviously you eventually want to retire. Or let's say, do you still want to be able to more or less oversee the company and just let them take over as you can, be away? You can be on vacation with the family or just do whatever.
Yeah.
How do you see yourself doing that? Like, do you see yourself going in the right direction, being able to do that?
I hope so, right? That's the end-all strategy for everybody, but the exit strategy for any company is, open to a lot of different options, right? Do you have family that, could take it over for you and you keep a legacy going? Do you look at employees that could possibly purchase it from you and continue company and continue your company name? Do you look at selling it to a large organization and having them absorb you almost as a franchise? What I've learned over my time here is really your company is based upon what it's worth without the sole person being in charge. Meaning, if the company can't run if I'm not there, there's no value to the company with me retiring. Mm-hmm. So, the option is to build the right team and have the company run itself with, minor oversight. That's what makes a company valuable and sellable. So, if I don't see family coming into it, I don't see my children having any interest, then that's going to be my look is, how do I make that run itself so it's worth something?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a strategy. But yeah, I don't want to sit there day in, day out, right? I want to find a retirement time, and I want to start stepping away, spend some time in Florida would be ideal for sure.
You want to have people around you that, like you said, can run the company with you not there. And obviously you don't want to, as he just said, you don't want to keep the name and you're gone, and then the name, maybe it's not as big, maybe it is important, maybe it's not, but the name get tarnished because you stepped away, you retired and they kept the name, but then but I think most of your customers know once you step away, if something does happen, it's not, you know what I mean, you're not there, so the name is not necessarily, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we spend our whole life making sure that our name is reputable, and that's
Yeah.
the most important part, and it's certainly important to me for sure. Yeah.
Well, listen, everybody, this is, as always, this has been JD Lewis with Untamed Conversations. Like I said, that was my cousin Pat, and he is the owner of AEC Solar and All Electric Construction. As he said in the beginning, anybody is interested, whether it be the apprenticeship, I know he is hiring right now for solar positions, obviously, I'll let him take it real quick.
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for people in the solar industry to, be installers for us, to be crew leads. Electrically, I sit on the union JATC board, so if you're looking to join the electrical apprenticeship, certainly reach out and I can point you in the right direction. I also am the president of NECA here in Connecticut, which is the National Electrical Contractors Association. So if you're a small electrical contractor and you need some guidance, again, reach out.
Awesome. And again, as always, this is JD Lewis with Untamed Conversations.